Hello friends and welcome to another episode of the Science Broadcast. I am Dr. John Papazafiropoulos and today we're going to talk about a lot of things relating to the COVID-19 vaccines. We're going to talk about things that would have made many different episodes, but I want to give you a general idea and then I'm going to make other episodes to very specifically discuss in more detail some of the finer points. So stick around if you want to learn about COVID-19 vaccines. Be educated, really arm yourself with knowledge is the only way to navigate these trying times. Thank you for watching and stick around. Hello friends and welcome once again to the Science Broadcasts. Today we're going to talk about vaccines, specifically the COVID-19 vaccine. A lot of discussion is taking place in the media, which unfortunately reinforces that getting information from the media is probably the worst source. A lot of misinformation is taking place in the media, I should say. Part of it is the efficacy of the vaccine, which people incorrectly choose to decide if they will take the vaccine or not. Efficacy relates to the effectiveness of the vaccine on an individual basis, and it is decided during the pre-trial stage. The pre-trial stage is when human subjects are used and the FDA reporting mandates that every piece of information is recorded in order for the FDA to approve or deny the approval of the vaccine. So the discussion is the Pfizer vaccine or the Moderna vaccine or the Johnson & Johnson vaccine any better? And the simple answer is that we cannot decide that. Part of it is because the efficacy of those different vaccines happen at different times. Some of them were tested in the US only. Some of them were tested globally. They were tested different times of the year, so we cannot really compare them. But even if we could, what does efficacy mean? Efficacy relates not to what percent of the population will be protected. For example, a 95% efficacy does not mean that 95% of the population will actually be protected if they use vaccine A or vaccine B. It actually means that for each person there is 95% chance that the vaccine will be effective when exposure, and that is for every exposure. You have to understand statistics to understand this. For example, I've taken the Moderna vaccine and I've finished both doses. So the efficacy of this vaccine is about 95 to 96%. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that I have a 5% chance of getting sick. It simply means that every time I get exposed to the virus, there is a 95-96% chance that I will not be sick because of the virus. And here I want to make another point, and this is a very, very important point. When we are talking about that percent, it doesn't mean that 5% of the time I will get sick and 95% of the time will not get sick. Also, the vaccines do not cure, the vaccines do not prevent. The efficacy of the vaccines, as they reported, relates to what are the chances you're going to have a mild or no infection. Now, it is important to understand that we're talking about mild or no infection. We're not talking about zero infection. Zero infection will be a totally different thing, and we're talking about total immunity. None of these vaccines offer total immunity, but a 95 or 96% chance to be infected, not infected actually, when you're exposed to the virus is a very, very good bet. In fact, even a 60% is a good bet. Not as good, but what 60% means? It means that you're less likely to get infected and have to develop a serious problem than not get infected and not get a serious problem. Again, vaccines protect you not from infection but from developing a serious illness. And how vaccines work is another episode that we're going to talk about. But the misinformation is so huge. We hear really silly things. People believe that the vaccines might implant a chip in you. Folks, that's not only impossible at many levels, but also what would be the purpose of it? If someone wants to track you, let's say the government or an entity wants to track you, it is unbelievably easy to do that. to develop a chip that can be inserted in a vaccine and infiltrate the whole medical system to do that for a specific person and then tag it to that specific person is so unbelievably unlikely and not possible and serves absolutely no purpose. It would be very, very expensive, or it is very easy to track you if someone wants to track you. Please do not listen to nonsense. There is no danger of being tracked because of the vaccine. Another silliness is that the vaccine alters your genetic code because of the mRNA. And RNA is really half of your DNA. Many vaccines in the past have operated this way. In fact, there have been two types of vaccines for a very long period of time. And those vaccines are either a weakened virus, a virus similar to it, that is the vaccine that you take if you take the flu, because there are about 2 million types of flu. When you're vaccinated against the prevalent types of flu as science deems necessary, which means that you cannot possibly be vaccinated for 2 million viruses. But because you're vaccinated from the predominantly existing viruses, the likelihood you're going to get very, very sick when you're exposed is extremely low. Your body learns to build immunity against most of the viruses of that type. So, what is immunity? How is that happening? Immunity is a response to a specific pathogen, in this case a virus, and your body always has a mechanism to do that, but often it takes some time to get to it. In other words, often your body will take time to become immune to a certain level. So immunity is not something new, but it takes time. By vaccinating you, we're giving you a head start. In other words, now we have elicited the immune response of the body. So when you are exposed to the virus or the pathogen that we are immunizing you against, you have much less likelihood, the efficacy of the vaccination is very high, that you will get seriously ill for that. Again, you will be infected. Don't be confused here. Vaccines do not prevent infection. Vaccines prevent the development of the illness to a very, very large, very successful degree. So I want you to understand what all this is about, because the misinformation is so huge that people refuse to get vaccinated, A, because they feel that the efficacy is not high and they do not understand what efficacy means, or they think that their DNA will be altered. It will not be altered. Or they think there is a microchip embedded in the vaccine. That is absolute nonsense. And you need to think who benefits when those pieces of misinformation is given. Are you the beneficiary of that? Do you derive any benefit? No. Some very nefarious people derive the benefit, and they really inject this information through the media and through everything else in order to take advantage of you. Please educate yourself. Listen to science. Do not listen to nonsense. Do not listen to mythology. Do not listen to journalists. Journalists know nothing about science. Listen to the science here. The science has been proven to be very effective. Vaccinations have been very successful in the past. They will continue to be successful. The current vaccinations against COVID-19 have been demonstrated to protect you not only against the specific virus in your region, but also a lot of variants. And what is a variant? A variant is the same virus that has changed enough as to buy itself more time. In other words, if you develop immunity on variant A, the idea behind the variants is that the virus will pretend, by being a little different, that it is not itself, to increase their opportunities to infect you. However, we have ways to trick the body to infect against every similar virus. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, we'll appreciate a follow. If you didn't, we hope you just learned something. And please do not listen to uneducated silliness. Please learn, educate yourself, empower yourself to make good decisions. Talk with your medical health professional. Talk with people in the sciences that understand what all this is about. Let me know if you have any questions and I will try to respond to them. From Dr. John Papazafiropoulos, Science Broadcast, I want you to wish you well. Do get vaccinated, take care of yourselves, and we are going to see you very soon with more episodes in an attempt to educate you and help you take care of yourself and your families. Stay well, wash your hands, put your masks on even if you're vaccinated. Remember, masks protect primarily others, not you. So if you're vaccinated, as you learn in this video, you can still be infected. What you do is you reduce the likelihood that you're going to get sick from the infection. So if you have the virus, you can transmit it. And you can transmit it to really populations that are very vulnerable, like the ill already, people with heart conditions, people with diabetes, people with any type of chronic condition, and also people that are elderly. So you can infect your parents. Wear masks to protect others. Masks were not intended to protect you. To a very, very small degree they do that, but it is really not a very high level of protection. The biggest protection is to protect others, and also by reducing the amount, the prevalence of the virus in the surrounding area, we make it more likely that if you get infected, it will be by a smaller amount, which make it a more mild infection. Stay safe, friends.